Hi everyone, it's Mariah from the Club Scrap Artist team. I'm here to show you how I use the stencils from this month's Artist Challenge and some foil to make some fun borders for a layout that I'll show you in another video. So to do this technique, you'll need some rubber cement and some foil. I bought my foil at Michael's and I got it in a couple of colors, and I'm using the gold foil for this. And I just put my stencil down on top of the strips of paper that I wanted to adhere the foil to. And then I'm just putting a thin coat of rubber cement with the honeycomb stencil here from Club Scrap. And then I'm just making sure that I'm cleaning off my stencil really well, just so I don't want any glue left over on that stencil so I can use it again later. So I'm going to do something similar here again with this strip of paper. This time I'm using the wavy line stencil. And I'm just again going to put a thin layer of some rubber cement there. And this one's a little more difficult to get a cleaner image with the rubber cement. The stencil is a little more delicate, so some of the rubber cement kind of seeps underneath the stencil outline there. But I end up liking the way that it turns out on my layout, and you can still see the pattern once you adhere the foil to this strip of paper. So I let that first half dry before I put the stencil back down to do the second half, just so I was sure not to mess up any of the lines. And I'm just going to let that dry again before I actually adhere the foil to the paper. So again, I have this foil that I got from Michael's. It's pretty thin, and all you're going to do is put it right on top of your dried strip of paper with the rubber cement on there. And I'm using a bone folder just to rub the foil directly onto the rubber cement. So it's kind of like a rub on, but again, just rubbing that on there. And you can reuse this foil, so any little bits and pieces that haven't come off on the initial time that you had rubbed it onto the paper, you can reuse it until you get all the foil off of that strip. So I'm just going to use a couple different strips of this foil just to make sure I have all the coverage that I want on my strips of paper. And again, I'll go over a couple different spots once or twice just to make sure that I have the full coverage that I want. So now I'm done with that small strip of paper, so I'm going to go back to the bigger piece and cover that with foil as well. So you can see I'm using that small piece of paper there, or foil, to get the remainder of the foil off onto that, and I'm just going to use a big piece to get the foil more quickly onto my paper there. I find if I first smooth it out with the long edge of the bone folder and then use the short edge to put pretty firm pressure onto the foil to make sure that I'm getting all of the color on there as quickly as possible. That was my best technique to get the most coverage on there. So here I'm just going through and just doing some little spot checking and putting in some more foil in spots that I think didn't quite get all the coverage that I wanted. And then I'll use this piece and the small skinny piece in a layout that I will show you next.